Have you ever wondered why some people seem cold, distant, or impossible to love? What if they're not pushing you away, but protecting a heart scarred by deep pain? Carl Jung reveals the truth. Hidden suffering shapes their behaviors. Join me to uncover why they act this way and how their pain can lead to profound healing. This journey might change everything you believe about them and yourself. You've met them before, those people who seem cold, distant, or just hard to reach. Maybe it's a friend who keeps you at arm's length, a loved one who hides behind a wall of silence, or even a part of yourself that feels guarded, as if your heart is locked away. But here's the truth. They're not cold, they're hurting. Deep pain changes how we exist, and most of the time, no one notices. According to the great psychologist Carl Jung, when pain isn't understood, it doesn't vanish. It hides. It weaves itself into our behaviors, shaping who we seem to be. This is the story of those behaviors, why they happen, what they mean, and how we can turn silent suffering into a path of real awareness. Join me on this journey, because it might just change how you see yourself and others forever. Imagine Sarah, a woman whose laughter fills a room, but whose eyes never quite meet yours. She's the life of the party, always ready with a joke. But when you try to get closer, she pulls back, her smile fading. From the outside, she seems aloof, maybe even arrogant. But years ago, a betrayal shattered her trust. A friend who promised loyalty but vanished when she needed them most. That pain taught Sarah a brutal lesson. Opening her heart could break it. Her distance isn't pride, it's survival. Carl Jung once said that pain is the currency the soul pays for consciousness. He didn't romanticize suffering. He saw it as a doorway to understanding. For people like Sarah, behaviors the world labels as cold or tough, distance, guardedness, or seeming indifference are not who they are. They're armor, silently stitched together to shield a heart that's been wounded too deeply. This armor isn't random. It's the psyche's desperate attempt to say, "I can't go through that again." Deep pain, when we dare to listen, doesn't just reveal our wounds. It shows us where we've forgotten to live fully. But there's hope. That armor isn't your skin. With compassion, it can be unraveled, piece by piece, until the heart breathes freely again. Now, let's meet John, a man whose life seems steady, good job, nice apartment, but whose heart races when a text goes unanswered. A colleague's neutral glance or a delayed reply can plunge him into a void of emptiness. To others, he's overreacting, too sensitive. But John isn't irrational. His reaction is an echo of a childhood spent waiting for love that never came. Parents too busy, their silence louder than words. That unprocessed pain lives on as what Jung called a complex, an unconscious emotional structure that hums beneath the surface. Jung taught that complexes aren't flaws. They're defense systems the soul builds to handle pain the ego couldn't bear alone. For John, his rejection complex flares when something in the present mirrors that old wound. A small trigger, a cold reply, a missed call, feels like abandonment all over again, and the complex takes over. Suddenly, he's not a grown man, but a boy, waiting for someone to care. He might snap, shut down, or feel a crushing emptiness over something small. It's not irrational. It makes perfect sense in the emotional world of someone who's suffered too much. The path to freedom lies in awareness. John could pause and ask, "What's hurting right now? Where is this reaction coming from?" This inner listening doesn't erase the pain, but it loosens its grip. Complexes are emotional memories, and when we hear them without fear or judgment, they stop screaming. They begin to whisper, guiding us toward healing, like a map to a forgotten part of ourselves. Across town lives Lisa, a woman whose sharp wit hides a deeper truth. She's quick to laugh, but her eyes scan every room, every conversation, for signs of betrayal. A friend's casual comment, a partner's delayed response. She's already braced for disappointment, predicting it before it happens. Lisa doesn't want to live like this, but the alternative feels worse. Growing up, promises were broken. Parents who swore forever, but left. Friends who vowed loyalty, but lied. Trusting again feels like jumping off a cliff. Jung understood that distrust isn't coldness, it's survival. For Lisa, the psyche stays on high alert, filtering every word, every gesture, through a lens of caution. The ego learned that trust comes at a high cost, so it builds invisible defenses, analyzing silences, weighing intentions, sometimes even sabotaging affection because believing feels more dangerous than pushing away. But this protection has a price. It blocks intimacy. No one can truly connect when you're always waiting to be hurt. Healing begins with a brave question. Is this fear real, or is it a memory? Lisa doesn't need to drop her guard all at once. It's about small steps, letting a friend in just a little, testing if the present can be different. Each step is a spark of hope, a reminder that the world isn't always a battlefield. Slowly, the heart learns to rest, and trust becomes less a risk and more a possibility. Then there's Alex, who sits alone in a dimly lit apartment, the world outside muffled by invisible walls. After losing someone they loved, a sudden shattering absence, Alex retreated. Friends called, but their voices felt like noise. Gatherings became overwhelming, so Alex stopped going. From the outside, they seem cold, indifferent, but inside, isolation is their lifeline, a desperate attempt to protect what's left of a broken heart. Jung saw this withdrawal as a symbolic death and rebirth, a necessary dive inward to reorganize a soul torn apart. For Alex, isolation is a womb, a space to remember who they are now that the world feels unsafe. But what starts as refuge can become a prison. The soul gets used to solitude, and those walls, once life-saving, begin to suffocate. Alex doesn't want to be alone forever, but depending on others feels like betraying the strength that carried them through. The way out is truth. Alex could whisper to themselves, "I pulled away to survive, but maybe I don't have to stay alone." This awareness transforms isolation into solitude, a livable space where being alone doesn't mean being disconnected. Slowly, Alex reconnects with their own feelings, with a single friend, with life itself. It's not the life they had before, but it's real, built on the courage to open the door, even just a crack. Enter Emma, the friend everyone turns to. She's the one who listens late into the night, who senses pain before it's spoken, who holds space for others' tears. But behind her warm smile lies exhaustion. Emma's life began with loss, parents who couldn't be there, leaving her to fend for herself. To cope, she built what Jung called a persona, a social mask that says, "I'm fine." Her rehearsed laughs and neutral nods keep the world at bay, locking her pain where no one can touch it. Emma's empathy is her gift and her burden. She feels others' suffering deeply, as if it's her own. Jung called this projection, when we pour our unresolved wounds into others. Emma gives endlessly, not always out of love, but to escape her own pain. Caring for others feels safer than facing what's inside. She thinks she's being strong, but she's hiding, and the weight of it leaves her drained, secretly lonely behind her giving. True empathy, Jung taught, begins with self-care. Emma needs to turn her compassion inward, to ask, "What do I need right now?" Only then can she be present for others without losing herself. This empathy, quiet, steady, whole, doesn't just help others, it heals her too, freeing her from the golden cage of her persona. Mark's story unfolds in the quiet tension of a relationship. He loves his partner fiercely, but when they get too close, he pulls back, his words sharp, his heart racing. It's not that he doesn't care. Closeness feels like a threat. Mark grew up with betrayal, a parent's broken promises cutting deep. Now, love feels like a risk, a door to pain he'd rather keep closed. Jung said true love begins where projection ends. As long as Mark projects his fears, abandonment, betrayal onto his partner, he can't see them clearly. Their relationship becomes a battleground between what was and what could be. Every kind word is questioned, every silence feared. Healing is slow but powerful. Mark could ask, "Am I reacting to now or to then?" By listening deeply to his partner, to himself, he stops fighting ghosts. Love transforms from tension into a space for growth, where two hearts meet without the shadows of the past. Sarah, John, Lisa, Alex, Emma, Mark, they all share a quiet strength, forged in the fire of pain. It's not loud or showy, but solid, built from falling and rising again, from fearing collapse, yet standing tall. Jung understood this strength as a structure of effort, pain, and persistence. But it has a shadow. It resists vulnerability. For these survivors, showing pain feels like betraying the journey that made them strong. Admitting, "I can't do this alone," seems impossible. This strength often masks fear, especially in the form of overthinking. Lisa's mind never rests, analyzing every glance, replaying conversations, predicting outcomes. It looks like intelligence, but it's fear in disguise. The emotional world feels too unstable, so the mind becomes a fortress, a place to control what the heart can't. But analyzing pain doesn't heal it. Feeling does, not drowning in suffering, but letting it move through, like a river finding its course. When strength embraces vulnerability, when the mind stops running, the soul finds rest. Among these stories, there's a common thread. Those who've suffered deeply often become wounded healers. Like Emma, they sense pain others miss, listen without judging, feel what's unspoken. Jung drew on the myth of Chiron, a wounded centaur who healed others despite his pain. This gift is profound, but it carries a risk. Wounded healers like Emma often care for everyone except themselves, hiding their pain behind their giving. They feel secretly alone, their own wounds neglected. Low expectations are another shield. After too many letdowns, promises broken, trust shattered, hope feels dangerous. John and Mark expect little, anticipate the worst, to avoid another fall. But this half-living filters life through fear, blocking possibilities. Awareness changes this. They realize, "I'm not weak for hoping, I'm brave." Beneath the scars, a part of them still dreams. Embracing that part, even slightly, lets life expand, like a flower breaking through stone. Some pain doesn't end when the event does. For Sarah, John, Lisa, Alex, Emma, and Mark, the past isn't a memory. It's a presence, echoing in their behaviors, their fears. Not because they choose to suffer, but because something was never processed, never closed. Jung's process of individuation, becoming who you truly are, happens through this pain, not despite it. Grief is the key, not to forget the past, but to integrate it. Grief means looking at what happened and saying, This shaped me, but it doesn't define me. It's letting pain move through, without judgment, without rushing to get over it. For Alex, it's mourning the loss that drove them to isolation. For Lisa, it's grieving the trust that was broken. When grief is done, the present becomes real, and the future opens. The scars remain, but they find a place to rest, no longer bleeding into every moment. This is where individuation leads, to a self that's more whole, more human, more free. Pain isn't the end. It's a doorway to the real you. This journey through pain, Sarah's armor, John's complexes, Lisa's distrust, Alex's isolation, Emma's empathy, Mark's love, shows us something profound. Carl Jung taught that pain doesn't define us, it reveals us. Every guarded moment, every sharp reaction, is a clue to a wound begging to be seen. By listening to that pain, by asking, what's hurting? What's possible? We turn suffering into a path. So here's my challenge to you. Take one step today to listen to your heart. Maybe it's writing down a fear, reaching out to a friend, or simply sitting with a memory. Share your step in the comments. I read every one. If this story touched you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more journeys into the psyche. Together, let's keep growing, keep healing, keep becoming who we're meant to be. I'll see you in the next chapter.